Okay, so
Does anyone know how? I was just going to, are we chatting still? I was asking, anyone know about the water situation?
the ban is still on.
It's not good.
Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order since we are live now. So welcome everyone to the Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting on the 6th of October at 7 o'clock. And I have a new statement that I need to read out prior to the meeting starting. So as chair of the Sustainability Advisory Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. On Friday, the 2nd of October 2020, public notice of this meeting was posted on the town website and on the bulletin board of the town offices at 10 Front Street. As provided in that public notice, the public may access the meeting online and via their phone. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. So let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone else in the room with you during the meeting, and also that the person is and who the person is, either son, daughter, spouse, etc., which is required under the right to know law. So I'll kick off. My name is Chetna Palmer, and I'm the chair of this committee, and I am by myself in the room.
I'm Chris Zygmunt, and I am alone in the room.
I'm Beverly Tappan, and I'm alone.
I'm Kristen Osterwood, and I am not alone. I have children and my mom in the same room. Oh, more children. See?
I'm Jackie Ojala, and I'm alone in the room.
You waiting for me or?
Yes.
I think Nina.
Oh, okay, I'll go. Dave Sharples. I'm in the room alone.
Okay, while we wait for Nina, I'm Nico Papakostendis. I'm up to the committee and I'm alone in the room.
We'll just wait for Nina. She's connecting to audio.
It looks like we just lost her.
Lost her, yeah.
Oh dear.
Might want to just continue, and then when she hops on, she can say if.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably best.
Okay, so yes, welcome everyone. And so we'll kick off with, I don't think there's anyone from the public online, so I'll pass on any public comments. Approval of the minutes from the last meeting of 1st of September. They were attached to the agenda. Did anyone have any comments? Any thoughts, changes to those minutes? Changes to those minutes? If not, then I'll push for a
Move to approve.
motion to approve. Anyone
I'll second. I'll second.
Okay, thank you. So we'll approve those. I think there were a couple of action items on that, which I think we'll come back to when one of them was the discussing a couple of other things in terms of the emissions inventory, and then also we're still waiting on for the coastal program with Julie LaBranche, so we'll come back to that. Any updates on sustainability issues, Dave, since September?
Yeah, I got a couple. Well, first to talk with Julie. I talked to Julie the other day. We couldn't talk long. She had a lot of things going on. She cannot be. She sent me an email. She's joining us in November. I didn't get a lot of details. I asked her for kind of a schedule for the grant and milestones and kind of next steps with dates associated with it. And she said she'd put that together for me and get that to us. Rachel Naldonli will be here tonight. She can't make it until 7:30 because she's in a class. I think she teaches dance. So she said she'll come on. So she's going to come on at 7:30 and give the presentation on her greenhouse gas emissions inventory. And finally, I went to the select board last night. I went to the board. I discussed this with you folks and the energy committee at their both of your last meetings, and you're very supportive of pursuing a solar array at the closed landfill site on Crossroad. And I went to the select board last night, and they just, the folks that spoke were nothing but positive. And I will go ahead and issue a request for proposal this week to see, what the interest is and to move forward to see if that's a feasible project. I did underscore to the select board last night that, we don't know if this is feasible at this point, but we want to get to that point to see, A, if it is feasible, and then B, if it is, does it make sense? And is it something we should move forward with? I think if it works out, it could be a win-win for everyone. But we'll see as the process moves forward. But they were very supportive last night, and that's all I have to report this evening.
So, Dave, in terms of feasibility, who would you be connecting with to?
Well, multiple people. First, it would be like we want to get to see. Right now, the next step is a request for proposal to gauge interest. And we're going to do a site walk, and then I'll get to understand from the solar array developers, people that would develop the site, are they interested? I think that's the next step. If there is some interest, then we'll get together, get an interview panel together, which I would suspect, we discussed this at the meeting last night. I would suspect I would solicit a member from this committee, a member from the energy committee, myself, and maybe another staff person to interview the firms and go from there. Then we would start diving into the possibility of a permit through the state, because you'd need a permit through the state to do this because it is a managed landfill site. And then we'd get into some engineering exploration to see the condition of the current landfill, the cap, the weight, how it can handle and if it's feasible and so forth. And then hopefully after that, some agreement language that we might be able to bring forward to the select board to examine and take action on.
So we wouldn't really know.
Dave, are you in touch with Revision Energy in this project? Revision Energy, are you in touch with them as
know Revision
possible
Energy.
supply?
A lady is on the energy committee that works for Revision. I don't have a ton of contact. That's for what the RFP is for. It's more of a request for proposals. You don't want to get too involved with certain folks until you put out the RFP and let everyone respond and interview them all.
Can I?
Right. I will say that they have been very helpful here at Riverwoods and have been advising us on a similar project. So, I think I would say they should be considered at least.
Well, it's up to...
And that they have a plan whereby if the town does not want to make the initial expense, they will make the expense and build the town on a payback basis month by month until the town owns the array.
Yeah, it's up to them to submit a response to our RFP. I'm hopeful that they will, but it is ultimately their decision.
Sure.
Can I ask Dave, is there sort of a timeline that we're looking at or
I got to get the RFP out. Yes, thank you. Good question. I got to get the RFP out. I was hoping to get it out possibly this weekend, put it in the paper, maybe Sunday and get it, and issue it like by Friday. And then I like to give 30 days for people to respond. And then after that, we'd get them in, and depending on how many we got, then I'd like assemble the interview panel, and we'd each review the proposals, a couple weeks, and then contact the firms that we want to interview if there are multiple firms, and then go from there, I guess. So it's probably 6-8 weeks process to possibly get a firm on board to work with.
Okay, all right. Well, keep us posted, and if you obviously need any sort of resource help, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd be looking for, I don't know how you'd want to do it. I'd probably reach out to you, but while we're talking about it, I would just, look for a member that, could have time. I think it would be during the day. So if anyone had time during the day and wanted to participate on that panel of interviews for us from this committee, and whoever would be doing, I would leave it up to you, Chet. And how do you decide if multiple people want, or does someone want to? We'd be happy to have someone from the committee participate. But that would be we'd have another meeting before that.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Along those lines, have you reached out just location feasibility and tying in with the electric grid? Have you reached out to anyone at Unitil about that?
I didn't reach out to anyone at Unitil about that. I did go out there and looked at the if there was 3-phase power, because if there isn't, that's a deal breaker right there. But it is on Cross Road and Kingston Road. We just haven't gotten that far. We just want to see, I guess the next step is we want to see if there is actually interest on behalf of the private development side to do this project. And then we'll, do the due diligence from there.
Okay.
But if you have any connections, please, please, feel free.
Yeah, I used to sit right next to the people who did that. I haven't seen anyone in about 6 months, but they do work on the solar interconnections and feasibility studies. So I'd be happy to help out on this project and provide connections on that.
Great, thank you.
Nina, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I can't see anybody, but sorry for the delay.
Okay, just for our roll call, do you just want to introduce yourself and just let us know if anyone else is in the room?
Sure. Nina Braun. No one else is in the room with me.
Okay, all right. Well, we can't see you either. So, okay. So, any other updates, Dave, or is that?
That's all I have.
Okay. I've got communication issues, social media update, anything from Nina or Chris?
I don't have anything. Like I said last meeting, we were working with the communications committee to come up with a solid plan for each of the different committees throughout town. But I would ask that if anybody has anything from the committee, you could certainly send it to me, and then I can get it prepped and ready to pass off to Dave to then post it. So I just ask that people continue to send to me any communication pieces that they would like to have published.
Okay. Chris, did you want to add anything?
No, I've got nothing to add. Actually, maybe the only comment I would say is, Nina, I don't know if we post meeting minutes and stuff like that on the town site. Have we been sending, or maybe even just like a meeting recap? Can we boil down minutes to something digestible once they're approved to share that way? Would that be an efficient thing to do?
Yeah, no, I was thinking that might be a good thing to do, actually. The only thing is if we do boil them down, because they do get posted on the town website. So then just thinking about where else would it be relevant, be almost like
Well, I think the thing is, just like we talked about before, I mean, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see just a recap show up on the town Facebook page, which is fed into 6,000, 7,000 Facebook feeds versus people having to go look for it on the website. And so,
right. No, I could definitely do that if I could get the minutes that are written up before. I know they get sent to.
But even sorry, Nina, even putting up a link on onto the town Facebook page would help, because then people can just click and
maybe hit like 3 highlights in the link, or something.
Yeah,
like that.
And say,
I could do that. Sure.
I mean that would be easy enough to do.
And a picture of Kristen's cute kids there would be a winner.
So.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll put that in the notes.
All right. So I'll skip. Obviously, Rachel's not joining us till 7:30, so I'll just skip on to the next agenda item. We haven't got Julie to give us an update, and I think appreciate the situation of our working environment has changed over the last obviously few months with coronavirus, and I think we had we had the document about 3 meetings ago where so we have got no updates on what's happened with that document and how Julie whether she's approached the heads of the departments with that and to get their input. So there is not a lot that we can do with regards to that. But further, I know the other items that were part of the funding. I just feel a bit frustrated in terms of probably the lack of progress, I guess, moving forward for the committee. And my sort of main concern is and has been in terms of doing that outreach for to do with sustainability and doing the outreach. And obviously we can't do a festival, we can't do that kind of stuff at the moment. And I did connect with the people who put on the Kittery Film Festival to see if there was any mileage in us sort of working with them to do something, and make it more of a, sort of teamwork and get more presence through doing something together, which I think is probably more effective in some ways than us sort of reinventing wheels and same film. If we can do a film sort of festival, putting out the same films as they would be doing. I think to join forces would be a good use of our resource and working with them who, when that festival has been happening for a couple of years now. So I can sort of see what happens with that and what they come back with as, in the next month or so on that. But if there's any other ideas, I think, I'm more than happy to discuss them in terms of sort of doing something which is more visual and more effective in moving things along and seeing something happening. With the sort of gap analysis and whatever that's sort of tied in with the funding from the coastal program, it just, for me, it just further highlights the need for a paid position for a coordinator, because it is a sort of, can be quite easily a full-time job. And with our committee resources, we're all volunteers, we all have other jobs, the progress is slower. And, our time is limited in terms of, family commitments, work commitments. And I think the whole process behind with the sustainability advocacy group that was pushing for for a part-time person dedicated as a coordinator, is to me even more highlighted as we progress on month on month. So I don't know if anyone would comment on that or have any thoughts,
Madam Chair, I can weigh in just real quick.
Sure.
And I understand your frustration. The Budget Recommendations Committee met a week ago Wednesday, and the town manager, Russ Dean, presented the draft budget. And one of the things that was mentioned is that there are going to be no new positions proposed for this year because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
There may be some positions that will be replaced if people have either retired or moved on, but none of the departments, there are no new positions being added for this year. So it's across the board. It's not just this position.
Yeah, I mean, I fully expected that to happen because of the situation. So I guess it's just it was just nice. I think not nice is probably not the appropriate word, but just a couple of things. I think if I move on to one of the other agenda items about the plastic waste, and I think that is something that we can probably do something and work with the town and the businesses and residents to really, make a positive impact in reducing the single-use plastic waste that has undoubtedly increased due to the pandemic and people's sort of fears of using, washable cutlery and so on and so forth. And, we saw that when obviously the governor, we had the mandate of reusable bags couldn't be taken into the supermarkets, and we had to use, we had to have the single-use plastic bags. So I think I'd like to open up the debate about single-use plastics and whether, if the town was so serious about sustainability and to make a positive impact and which is, affects all of us in terms of the amount of plastic waste that is generated. That is there something that we can actually do something about it?
I mean, I think
I have a couple of.
Go ahead, Beth.
Go ahead.
Go on,
After
Beth.
Well, I have a couple of contributions to make on that. Recently, I read that the whole idea of recycling has been kind of pushed by the oil industries, and that it is not exactly all it is cracked up to be. They can actually recycle only a very small portion of types 1 and 2 and none of the rest. So recycling is not the answer. The new motto is refuse to use plastic and reuse if you do have any. Riverwoods now is reusing food containers because it's possible to do that, so refuse and reuse. And to push substitutes for the plastic items is probably the best idea in going forward, to push the town and us and everybody to look for substitutes for plastic items, because we are breathing and swallowing. And what's the other thing? It's in our water, it's in our air, it's in our food. So it's not good. Oh, and there is an excellent film, The Story of Plastic. I don't know whether that sort of thing can be shown over the town TV. I don't know how it can be shown other than what we can't do now with COVID gatherings with a real film festival. But keep it in mind, The Story of Plastic is an excellent awakening film as to what it's all about.
Hey, Bev, you just said something really great. You said a lot of things that are really great, but one I really want to pick up on in particular. That is a great question to look into. Can the Sustainability Committee or any committee or the town host film showings on Exeter TV and webcast? I mean, is that something that we could seek permission to do? And if we're all stuck Zooming, and the whole world is right now, it's going to be a really effective way to get stuff out there and work with, whether it's Chetna working with the Kittery film folks or other content that we get that push the message forward. That way we're not just a bunch of screaming heads trying to get things to change, but we can schedule some, effective content to support anything that we're trying to do. Dave or Nico, do you guys know what limits are, especially if we have rights of broadcast and all that to do that?
I do not know that. But I will, because there was always talk about a kind of a, media policy and so forth, but I wrote it down. I definitely will look into that and get back to you with the answer to that. Unless, Nico, but.
Yeah, Chris, you know what? Andy Swanson and Bob Glowacki can speak more definitively. I don't think it's something that can be broadcast on Exeter TV Channel 22. However, I do think that you might be able to utilize Channel 98. And so I would...
I didn't know there was a Channel 98.
What's that?
I didn't know there was a Channel 98.
There is a Channel 98, and there's more, and I'm not going to take Bob's thunder away because that's what he does, but I know that there's more programming on Channel 98 that's awesome. More informative. It's not just like a town channel.
Great. That's awesome. The other thing I wanted to chime in on Chetna as well, and to the committee and the group, since you opened up for discussion, is, the writing on the wall, the science is there. Is this the opportunity in the wake of all this, huge spike of disposable plastic consumption, single-use plastic, to, work to recommend that the town, issue a proclamation or a rule or a mandate or whatever effective tool we can to put a date out there to ban it, recommend an effective list of compostables or substitute product to take a stand as a town. Is that something that would have to go through referendum? How would we make those suggestions and seek that the town do that?
I think, I don't know. I mean, Nico can maybe let me know, but my understanding was that if similar to, it would have to get passed in the March elections, I guess, in terms of a mandate or a ordinance. Is that, I don't know. I know I've worked with a couple of people I know have brought in sort of styrofoam banning and single-use plastics in some of the towns in Massachusetts, and the whole sort of policy, if you want to call it that, lays out what would how would it would be policed, so to speak. The sort of businesses they would get like 3 warnings if they were still using single-use plastics or styrofoam, and then they would get a fine. And then how would that fine be managed, I guess, by the town? And then there were also, I know in particular with one town that were going to be bringing in a ban on single-use plastic bags. There was an issue of how would, so reusable bags, who would have access to reusable bags, and for those folks who are unable to purchase canvas bags, what would the mechanism be to distribute reusable bags to people, to those residents?
Yeah, I almost wonder if a little more carrot and a little less stick. It's one thing to come out with an ordinance or law banning it, but maybe the opportunity for the committee, until we can get to the point where we figure out the mechanism to do that, is, can we work with the town to incentivize local businesses and citizens to find the substitutes, find the compostables, find the reusable product and stuff like that. Look at both sides of the equation, not just the penalty, but also the incentive.
Yeah.
But what about a paper bag mandate? I know, I'm all over Boston and Massachusetts and towns where I'm from originally have enacted that in the past, few years. what would sort of be a process for that? I mean, it's similar, right? But
Yeah.
just focusing on, or starting with the awareness piece and then moving towards the possibility of what it means to write up a mandate to have it ready for March.
Yes.
Did I hear you say paper bags? Or did I hear that?
Yeah, no,
Correctly?
paper mandate. Yeah, like, so all the local businesses, I mean, also a town I lived in Colorado recently did it too. You know, they required, and friends of mine who are shop owners, it was a sort of a big deal, and it took about over a year or so to get it in place. But yeah, the paper bag mandate. So no more plastic bags. You know, from a big town in Massachusetts, Lexington, and they all over town. It's since in the past year. It's, you go to any store, you know, anything from like a Walgreens to CVS or any of those. They were all required to use paper bags. I know the Walgreens actually in Exeter they use paper, and I had commented about that, and they said, "Oh yeah, we just did it company wide a year ago."
Good idea.
So I also wanted to just sort of tap in on the plastic waste issue. I can't remember. I think this was brought up that we had a meeting obviously quite a few months ago when with regards to composting, and when we had the meeting with Jen from the owner of Laney Lou and Mr. Fox, who runs that, John, and also with the economic development manager, Darren, and also and there was a conversation about how to get people to, so businesses in town to use compostable containers. And Jen had offered and had spoken to businesses locally to say that she was willing to have any of their sort of compostable waste to be put into her sort of bins that Mr. Fox manages to be taken away for composting. So I know since that conversation and the conversation about bringing in more composting to Exeter, not much has been done since then, obviously. So again, it's another possibility of how we can sort of encourage through the Chamber of Commerce, or, you know, those that organization that obviously taps into the local businesses, and see whether there is a way in which we can sort of, you know, have workshops or whatever to engage with local businesses to make a switch.
I think a lot of the what I understand from other towns trying to push forward with some of these mandates, for instance, just the paper bag mandate, but is the cost. And I know that, you know, that not that should deter us, but business owners are very concerned, obviously, of cost of goods, and compostable containers are quite a bit more costly. And also the reality of bringing your compostable items, you know, whether you're a coffee shop or whatever on the other side of town, bringing it all the way over to Laney and Lou's, just the logistics of things like that. But I think it's very important, you know, to bring these things up. And I think it's good if we, and very, there's a dire need for it, and we need to, start creating that awareness, and then understanding what the process is in town and how we go about doing this.
I mean, there's also an argument in terms of, you know, buying power. So if you had more businesses who signed up for using compostable containers and items, you know, then you could have, you know, the team of businesses working together that would have that buying power to bring the, you know, ultimately the cost per item down. instead of each business having a different account. Then you're in a better position to sort of negotiate, I guess, on the volumes. So I just wanted to bring up that discussion in terms of single-use plastics because, I think the amount of plastic waste has gone up, and due to obviously the COVID situation, and I've sort of been looking for articles into where this narrative came about to say that by using disposable items you are less likely to catch the virus, and I haven't found one piece of item that has really sort of highlighted to me that is the case. So I really don't know where this sort of fear aspect came into being for people to sort of push that.
Early on, that was the protocol. But what I'd be curious to find out if we can do the homework to see if at the state level, at least, if our Department of Health has retracted any of those early statements. Remember, we were all wiping down our groceries and quarantining our stuff in the garage, and we were washing our clothes after we went to the grocery store and all sorts of stuff like that. And the surface transmission has since been diffused, is not really a real topic, a key issue. I'd be curious to see if we can get our hands on some actual science from the state level to see that could help us with that, so that at least we could stand on solid ground to say, based on this information, as the starting point for this, because people are gonna, if we just go out there and start raising the alarm about single-use plastics, and it was amazing how quickly people fell right back into taking home 400 bags from the grocery store every week. So it's just one of those things. It's going to take a while to disarm that comfort again, and we're going to have to meet that with some credible information.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And like I said, I haven't found any science, and I've been looking, and I've asked different people. I've even contacted a couple of organisations who may be able to help me, and I really haven't found that sort of.
On the contrary, there have been a number of statements from scientists recently that surface transmission is not something that it is transmitted in the air, droplets in the air. I'm sure there's something on the web to that effect by now.
Well, if it's on the web, it's got to be true. So. Yeah, we have to lock down some at least a couple of decent chunks of data to support it. But I think we need to get out with this, and we fell back really far with the plastics. It's amazing.
Yeah, and on the subject of plastics, I think one of the things that I think would be useful and helpful with Halloween coming up, it'd be great if we could put, like the top 10 tips or something up for residents to look at and read, just on ways in which they could reduce use of single-use plastic on Halloween, which I think it'd be useful, because I did some search, and I did find that in 2019, US alone disposed of, what was it? Like 83 million, 2,000 tons of outfits and wrappers, of plastic wrappers. So, and also I came across the US Department of Energy had some tips on what to do with pumpkins, and also talked about how the amount of pumpkins that are left to rot ultimately in landfill, that it equated to 254 million tons of waste of carved pumpkins ended up in landfill. And obviously pumpkins, as they decompose, turn into methane, and it's obviously a greenhouse gas that accelerates the climate crisis that we're in. So I think, as a useful service, I guess, just to put out some tips for people just to make their Halloween a bit greener and more sustainable would be useful.
I'd be happy to pull something together and to create a colorful list.
That'd be great.
Yeah, Harvard has a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff out there that we can. Yeah.
But I think just to keep it on people's forefront, in terms of, try and lessen the amount of plastic plates being used and so on and so forth, because again, they're not recyclable because they're coated by a layer of plastic, even though they may be paper plates.
We find that, when we give the apples and the razor blades inside, you can reuse those later. And then the apples, of course, are natural. So I'm kidding, of course. But I think that the biggest challenge is the stuff you give out at the door. And it's so hard with all that. And obviously all the costumes and stuff. So yeah, Nina, if you've got access to, or you've seen some really good recommendations. And I think we need to put together a list that's really tight, that's manageable, that's effective and doable, things that people can actually do.
Yeah, I think it'd be useful.
Has there been a...
Incidentally, the web seems to be full of tips for a green Halloween. We've got... there's even some ideas from Harvard University on a greener Halloween. So there's plenty of information right on the web here.
Yeah. So I think if Nina can put some together, I can help you put some other stuff together if you want. But
yeah, just anybody who has anything, just send it, and then we can make a post that I can send to Dave.
And then you
just Google for green Halloween.
All right. So I think it'll be an ongoing conversation in terms of plastic waste. And I see Rachel's online, so I don't want to keep her waiting for much longer.
Great.
So Rachel, welcome.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My camera, I'm on my work laptop, so I don't have access to the camera right now. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Are you guys ready for my presentation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, just for our purposes, could you just let us know whether you're alone in the room or not?
Yes, I am alone in the room.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, Rachel, thank you very much.
Can I jump in, Rachel, Dave? We sent that video, the presentation to Daniel. He has it.
Okay.
Would you prefer that we show the screen while you're talking, or do you just want to go from the screen? Just talk.
Yeah, no, you guys can pull up the presentation. I think that would be helpful.
Okay. Daniel, do you got that? Can you do that? I thought the email said that you could.
Yep. Just give me 1 sec.
All right. Got it.
Great. All right. So, hi, my name is Rachel Nadolny. I was a part of the UNH Sustainability Fellowship Program this summer. And for my project, I worked on completing a greenhouse gas emissions inventory for Exeter's municipal operations. And I worked on this project with Dave Sharples. As most of you know, I'm assuming that greenhouse gas emissions contribute to climate change, which is why it is important to measure and track where these greenhouse gas emissions are coming from. Also, doing this greenhouse gas inventory enables Exeter to take ownership and responsibility of its contributions to climate change. Next slide, please. So this inventory was done by using the EPA local greenhouse gas inventory tool, the government operations module. And this is a free tool that can be used by anyone. So in this inventory, I used 2019 data, and the categories that I included were stationary combustion, mobile combustion, wastewater treatment, electricity, and employee commuting. It should be noted that solid waste was not included in the inventory due to lack of information and data. Next slide, please. The results of the inventory are portrayed in this pie chart with wastewater treatment, mobile combustion, and electricity as the largest sources of emissions. Agriculture and land management produced such a small amount of greenhouse gas emissions that they don't even show up on the pie chart. Also, it is important to note that the wastewater treatment data includes the entirety of the community, not just from municipal operations. So from the results of the inventory, I came up with emission reduction targets as well as strategies to work towards these targets. So next slide, please. I recommended that Exeter set a target for municipal operations to achieve net zero emissions by 2050 with an interim goal of a 30% reduction in emissions by 2030. And these targets were recommended because of the strong push from Exeter's community for sustainability action. And these targets are in line with other towns that are taking aggressive action. Two strategies that I recommended were putting solar panels on the landfill property and switching 10 of the Exeter's fleet vehicles to hybrid vehicles. And both of these strategies will help Exeter work towards the 2030 goal. And in my opinion, in order for Exeter to achieve the 2050 goal, it will require all of Exeter's departments to be involved and work together on implementing emission reduction strategies. I also want to say that I have not laid out the pathway to get to 2050. That will require some more in-depth analysis. Next slide, please. So next steps for Exeter would be for the town to adopt these emission reduction goals of a 30% reduction by 2030 and achieving net zero by 2050. Also for Exeter to implement the emission reduction strategies that I mentioned above, as well as continuing to do research for other projects and other future emission reduction strategies. And then next step would be for Exeter to conduct some sort of community-wide analysis, and this could be a traditional community-wide greenhouse gas inventory or some type of consumption-based analysis. That will be, you guys will have to determine that. And yeah, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Any comments, thoughts?
Well, I think that hybrid vehicles is a good first step, but I think that the policy should go further and suggest a transition as they become practical to electric vehicles. Because hybrid only gives you half your emission, cuts you down to half your emissions, but electric takes all of it away.
Mm-hmm.
That is.
They are going to come on the market in increasing numbers and cheaper. Not quite yet, but within the next 10 years.
That was discussed, and that is eventually the plan. Right now, the police are moving to hybrids. They already bought one. It seems to be, where it is right now, but it will get more aggressive. DPW still is waiting we had a long talk with them about it, but they use a lot of equipment that just isn't available. The technology's not there for hybrids or electric to do what they need to do, like the heavier pieces of equipment. But certainly they can move, the cars, we can all like code enforcement and so forth. Cars like that, we can all start moving toward hybrid/electric. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Agree with that one.
Yes, definitely.
And also have mechanisms to offset any carbon emissions that are unable to meet if a target was set. Have a program to offset. So thank.
Rachel, did you start talking?
What? No, it kind of got cut out for a little bit. Did someone ask a question?
Someone asked.
No. Okay.
I just want to jump in to say, like, one of the first slides about talking, I think that's one thing that the Sustainability Advisory Committee could work on if you want to, is to put something together, maybe put something together like a resolution and so forth, discuss it, support it, and forward it on to the selectmen for possible adoption. Something like that about the commitment, for the emissions reductions. As Rachel suggests, I mean, if you think something needs to be more aggressive, maybe we can have that discussion, but at least moving forward with that might be something that the Sustainability Advisory Committee could work on in the near future, because I could bring it, as soon as the committee was comfortable to proposing to recommend something, if that's what you wanted to do.
I would definitely want to set some targets. I think it would be a very useful thing to do, obviously, and also show that the town is committed towards reducing its carbon emissions. So considering that we did, I guess, agree with the Paris Agreement, I think it will be foolish not to put down targets on achieving carbon emission reductions.
And then also, Rachel put a lot of work into it, because I questioned her a lot, and she did a lot of research about, we wanted, there's some communities maybe do a little bit more aggressive, some people less aggressive, but what she did, the research, that she did, these targets were, not just reasonable, but could be achieved, with not necessarily, not easy, but, with aggressive action, they could be achieved, feasible aggressive action. So she came from a point where these are pretty, the 30% by 2030 and net zero by 2050. So
I think that's very much in line with last week's UN global summit that was happening in New York, where both China and UK committed to those targets of 30% reduction by 2030 and then net zero by 2050. So I would fully support the committee sort of putting together a resolution that can be presented to the select board, so that it's there, and then hopefully we can meet those targets.
Do you need a motion to that effect?
I'll draft something for you for the next meeting.
That'd be great. So if you can do that, and then if you want to run it past me before the next meeting, that'd be great, and then just push it along as something that we can bring forward to the select board.
Sure, I'll send it out as soon as I get it. I thought I was going to draft something, and then you have a discussion about it next meeting, and
yeah, we can do that.
Alter it, what have you, and before you move it forward. But I'll get it out to you as soon as I can put something together.
Okay. Any other questions for Rachel?
No, just a comment. Just a big hearty thanks for the work, and it was sadly, given COVID, we never got to sit in person with you, but we're really grateful for the study and the work and the big effort. And it's something that's gonna, you're gonna move on to other great things in the career, but the work you did here is gonna have a long-term positive, lasting effect on our town. So we're very happy for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That was honestly my hope for this project. So happy to hear that.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you for your commitment.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rachel. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other? Look at my agenda. Any other business? No. All right. With that said, it's 7:55. I'd adjourn this meeting. Anyone? Motion second.
Second,
Thank you, Bev. So that our next meeting.
well, or motion, whichever you need. Motion. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Our next meeting is Tuesday, 5th of November at 7 o'clock. And hopefully, if there's any agenda items, please let me know as we go forward into the rest of the month. That's it, I think. And happy Halloween. Is Halloween going ahead, Nico?
Yes, it is from 3 to 6 on Saturday, the 31st.
Okay.
Plastic free.
Plastic.
Purely voluntary and at the discretion of each household.
Do you really think the kids are going to go from door to door with COVID?
I'm sorry?
You don't think that the kids are going to go door to door with the COVID going on?
It's open for each family and household to use their discretion. And the Parks and Rec Department, in conjunction with the Communications Committee, will be sending out guidelines, will be advertised on social media and also in the newspaper as put forth by the CDC.
Oh boy, okay.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good evening.
Have a great night.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks. Good night, everyone.
Care.
Good night.
Be well.